This is the first video of 4 on human evolution. My emphasis is on how rapid it has been and the fact it's still going on. It's the latter that's controversial. Since the time of the Scopes monkey trial 80 years ago, liberals have berated conservatives as knuckle-dragging primitives who don't believe in evolution. Now it's the liberals who don't. They like to pretend there has been no evolution since the human race migrated out of Africa 50,000 years ago. No, it has speeded up dramatically. But that's in videos to come. Video 1 covers the period up through our ape ancestors 7 million years ago. I'm telling the story in 7 timelines, each about 1/10 as long as the preceding one. In my subjective opinion, each timeline represents about the same amount of evolution, at least insofar as we can regard humans as the end product of evolution. Evolution is the process by which the genetic makeup of a population changes over time. It's caused by differential rates of reproduction. The genome of organisms that produce the most offspring will, over time, dominate the gene pool of the population. Populations evolve into separate species as their gene pools become sufficiently different that they can no longer interbreed. As those species in turn continue to evolve, we classify them in increasingly high-order clades: genus, family, order, phylum, and kingdom. Life appeared within the first billion years after the Earth was formed. Life is determined by metabolism and reproduction. Self-replication can be as simple as an ice crystal seeding another one. Metabolism defines an entity that absorbs foodstuffs, operates on it chemically to derive energy, and leaves behind waste. At any rate, within its first billion years, life on Earth had evolved into cells with walls and internal organelles. A scant half-billion years later, photosynthesis appeared. Blue-green algae were able to use sunlight to create simple sugars. This put oxygen in the air and created food for predators and decomposers. Somewhat less than a billion years ago, the cells came together into multicellular life. 600 million years ago, in what is called the Cambrian explosion, those life forms had become complex enough to leave fossils visible to the naked eyes of the first paleontologist. Worm-like things got buried in mud and left fossils. Some of those worms developed legs, antennae, tentacles, claws, and so on. About a half-billion years ago, plants colonized the land. There was now food for animals on land. Plants evolved rapidly and filled the atmosphere with vastly more oxygen for animals to breathe. Some worms developed backbones and became fish. 2 kinds, spike-finned and lobe-finned. Those lobe fins turned into arms and legs as amphibians crawled out onto land. They in turn evolved into reptiles, which no longer had to return to water to lay eggs. Reptiles reigned for a couple 100 million years, during which time birds evolved from dinosaurs and mammals from more primitive reptiles. Plants evolved quickly. Flowering plants proliferated during the time of the dinosaurs. Plants, because their seeds and spores can survive a long time, endured climate change, especially the great extinctions, better than animal species. Since multicellular life appeared, there have been 5 great extinctions, killing as many as 90% of all species of land animals. The primary cause appears to be tremendous volcanic activity, filling the atmosphere with dust, first cutting out sunlight and then heating the world with vast amounts of carbon dioxide. The last but not the greatest appears to have been caused by a meteor strike in the Gulf of Mexico. It triggered lava flows in India. Dinosaurs, cold-blooded animals with big appetites, died out. Small warm-blooded mammals and birds survived. They inherited a world in which the ecological niches which had been occupied by dinosaurs were empty. They evolved rapidly to fill those niches. Mammals evolved into small herbivores like rodents, big ones with hooves, marine ones like whales, and airborne ones like bats. Our ancestors, the primates, took over the treetops. They developed color vision for finding ripe food, hands for grabbing trees and food, great coordination for navigating the treetops, and brains capable of sustaining a complex social order. Abundant food allowed small monkeys to grow into large apes. Instead of balancing on top of branches, their shoulders evolved to allow them to swing underneath them. Their brains and the complexity of their social order grew. As a measure of the speed of evolutionary time, it's worth noting that all species of cat, from tiger to tabby cat, evolved more recently than the apes. Dogs likewise. By the time we parted company from our forest cousins 7 million years ago, we had become highly social apes, still adept at climbing trees but big and fierce enough to live confidently on the forest floor. Though we had evolved quickly, the most dramatic changes were yet to come. Evolution speeded up. The underlying cause of genetic variability has been fairly constant. It's mostly due to cosmic radiation and copying errors as the DNA double helix splits and reproduces itself. It's what nature does with that variability that has changed. A more complex genome will experience proportionately more random mutations. Sexual reproduction guarantees that offspring are not like parents, and usually not like each other. Smarter, faster, hardier individuals will leave more offspring. That's evolution. Changes in environment prompt evolution. Life moved onto land. Environment changes more dramatically on land than in the oceans, especially during the great extinctions. Organisms coexist in a biosphere. Each species is forced to evolve as its prey and predators change. As the antelopes speed up, so must the lions. Some animals, like beavers, modify their own environment. Humans do so dramatically. There is competition within species, especially among humans. One tribe may develop better technology and better weapons. We breed selectively. People are very picky in choosing our lifetime partners. We breed our animals selectively. Some of them have changed dramatically just within our lifetimes. Some groups of people have bred themselves to be especially intelligent, like the Jews, the Parsis, and the Japanese. Humans are led by culture and ideas. The Muslim culture believes in having children more than the Christians. The Muslims are being evolutionarily successful. Evolution is an amoral process. It has no purpose, no objective, no predetermined end. The idea that humans are the end product of evolution is a human conceit. The mechanism of evolution is reproduction. The genes of the organisms that are most successful in reproducing themselves come to dominate the gene pool. The act of reproduction is entirely instinctual in every organism other than man. Every healthy organism will attempt to reproduce itself, and any that does not would, by definition, not be the fittest. Humans are naturally endowed with libido, a sex drive, but we have been attempting since ancient times to control our fertility. We drove a natural birth control pill, a psyllium plant, to extinction in Roman times. Technology has made us much more effective. The declining impact of religion and other mechanisms that controlled our mores has broadened the number of acceptable sexual outlets. Lower libido served human evolutionary ends. It encouraged intact families, ones that would devote their resources to raising children. Unlike other animals, humans evolved social devices for increasing our fertility. North Asians have low libido but traditionally impose high social pressure on young adults to marry and form families. 20th century society has destroyed those social structures, leaving them with insufficient impetus to marry and have kids. We used to live among families, clans, and tribes that shared our genome to one extent or another. They had an evolutionary interest in the success of our families. They could be counted on to help raise and defend our children. Now, neighbors in big cities have no evolutionary stake in our children. Families are usually far away. We are on our own. Humans evolved to avoid work. This drove us to all the inventions that improved our productivity, which is good. However, children entail work. My observation is merely this. If we take the point of view that the human being is the end product of evolution, then we can say that evolution has speeded up dramatically. My second video addresses human evolution up to the age of agriculture. It was very rapid. What has happened since the dawn of civilization is truly explosive. The third video describes human evolution in the age of agriculture, the era of civilization, and the fourth describes its amazing progress, first forward and then backwards, at least to those with an enlightened notion of indirected evolution, in the last millennium.